to Get Real with Asil, a women empowerment podcast hosted by Asil Al-Baba. Hello and welcome to another episode of Get Real with Asil. Today is Monday, July 23rd, 2018. Well, if you are an avid listener of my podcast, I thank you so much from the bottom of my heart, but you would also have noticed that I have not recorded 2 weeks in a row, which is such a shame. And I'm usually absolutely not used to skipping a single week ever since I started this podcast on May 1st last year. But just with the transition that I've been going through, I honestly did not have my laptop on me. Plus, I did some traveling, and therefore I was not able of recording any of the things I've been through in the past 2 weeks. But I am back, and I still have my computer, my voice, and my absolute passion to grow and serve you along my journey. So I promise you not to delay any episode this long again, and if I do in the future need to take time off, I should make it I should make an announcement in advance. But this time it was just abrupt, and it happened to be the way it took place. So I apologize. I'm back, and I really wanted to dedicate this episode to my 29th birthday transition. So last week, Monday, July 16th, I turned 29. And I wanted this episode to be dedicated towards that. Not from a celebratory perspective, obviously, because that's too egotistical and that's not what I'm trying to do. But more so sharing the thoughts and the feelings that go through my head as I really go into my last 20-something year. Because what I want this podcast to be is a platform where ideas and exchanges take place, and normally ideas that are not necessarily often talked about, thoughts and feelings that people sometimes avoid or potentially just simply prefer not to talk about, even controversial topic in that sense. But in this instance, there's a lot that happen in a woman's mind and heart, and I'm not going to be representing women here. I'm representing myself, but through what goes through me, I want to offer that space to other women as well who could be going through similar experiences or potentially different ones, but haven't had the courage to look them in the eye and face them and acknowledge them for what they are. Because sometimes really when you see another person having the courage to admit what it is they're going through from an emotional, psychological perspective, we get the courage as well to look and have an honest, introspective conversation with ourselves. And this is really what I'm trying to do here. So these are my intentions for this episode. I have absolutely prepared nothing. All I'm doing is simply sharing my thoughts about my 20s, really. Whew, that's a heavy one. It's gonna be a heavy one. So reflecting on my 20s, I grew up very, very fast. I didn't have the luxury of taking my time in maturing. I had to mature fast because of the circumstances I was dealt with in life. So growing up in Lebanon, the place itself is very unstable from a political perspective, economical perspective, just all the different wars and instability that the place goes through. That in itself forces children to grow up fast. But aside from that, I always had a very introspective personality. I always wanted to ask more questions, dig into the deeper philosophical side of life and the spiritual part of it as well, and understand deeper why things happen the way they do. So I always stood out. And as a kid, I stood out in a negative way. I didn't appreciate not being able to fit in. I didn't appreciate feeling isolated, feeling like I'm incapable of having true friends who can properly support me and love me for who I am. And I was ultra sensitive. So if you know anything about cancers, because my horoscope happens to be a Cancer, we are known to be extremely sensitive people and emotional as well. And this has been something I've been really trying to master as I mature. It's how to manage my emotions and control them better so that they're able to serve me instead of controlling me. So having said that, as I started maturing, this side of me, the deep philosophical side, started to flourish, even though there's a time in my life where I completely abandoned it and I just wanted to fit in. So I tried to be somebody I'm not. I tried to be inauthentic, which is absolutely not in alignment with my purpose and who I am. And as a result of that, I was extremely depressed and I became bulimic and I tried to really hurt myself. But what happened is that just gave me more courage to shed that skin off and just shine in the way I'm supposed to shine, which is being myself, really. And that started happening in my early 20s. So the teenager years were just confusing, just feeling frustrated and angry. And I left Lebanon when I was 16. So from 16 to 20, I was really just adjusting to living in Canada, adjusting to a new culture. I was working. I was, my family was separated. So I was really dealing with a lot of personal home situations that we're going through. But it really matured me. Now, here's the interesting thing. At 20, I had my first real relationship. And by real relationship, I'm talking, at a level of seriousness that we were discussing the future and potential, marriage and these type of things. And I remember that at that particular time, I was actually turning 20. So that was like my step into my 20s. And at that point, I remember how much highly I thought of myself. I thought I was mature. I know it all. I figured it out. Life cannot be more clear to me. At least that's what I thought, obviously. And the man that was in my life at that point provided me with a lot of security. And I felt that, I would definitely have a family with this guy. He's definitely the one. And I'm going to make it happen. Later on, we were just, starting to make our intentions clear to our families. His sisters freaked out because I was only 20. He was actually 32. And they were talking about how young I am and how we don't need to rush and I still need to take my time. And he was just really adamant about making the next steps. Thankfully, things didn't work out. I recognized certain things about the relationship that were not healthy and I walked away from it. However, reflecting on that particular experience, I realized that I was looking for security outside myself. I felt extremely unstable. I was emotionally wrecked and I was coming from a very hostile environment in my own house. So I wanted to build stability outside my own self. And I thought a relationship would be the answer. So I attracted this man in my life thinking that this is what's going to happen. He'll provide me with everything my life is currently missing. And this is absolutely a recipe for a disaster. And what happens often when people do follow through relationships like that, where marriage occurs on that particular premise, relationships fail sooner or later if that's what you're building them on. So now that I have this maturity, I look back and in hindsight, I'm extremely grateful that that relationship didn't work out, especially because it was built on absolutely the wrong intentions. Fast forwarding to my mid-20s, there's another guy in the picture around 25. And that's interesting because at 20, I had that experience. And then at 25, I had another experience. This time I did get engaged, actually. So that step was taken. And sooner or later, that relationship also didn't work. And when I reflect on it, it was also something that didn't work for more or less the same reasons. I was also still not emotionally stable. I was still not stable in my house. My career was I didn't even have a career. I was just fresh out of university, and I landed the first job I got without any idea of who I am and what my purpose is and any of these things. And I just we had a really good friendship. I reflect on that relationship with positive thoughts, but it certainly wasn't the right one for me either. And the reason I share that is because it takes courage. It takes courage, especially in my culture, to walk away from an engagement when you realize that it's not the right one for you. Now, I just turned 29. And the interesting thing about this is I've always thought, especially in the Middle Eastern culture that I grew up in, that I would be married with like 2 kids by the time I'm 30. I mean, these were just simple expectations in my head. Or at least married, if not with kids, at least married, and at least 1 kid. Like that was definitely something on my list. It's just a social expectation, it's a family expectation, it's the norm. And right now I'm 29 and I am not engaged nor married, and I do not have any kids. And it's very interesting how I particularly feel at this point in my life. So there's 2 sides of that equation. One side, it's like, where did the time go? I'm 29. What the hell? It just honestly doesn't feel like it. I don't, like, it almost feels like it just simply slipped in my hands. And I've always heard people talk about how fast your youth passes by you, how fast time itself runs. But now I have the perspective to what that even feels like, because I'm 29 and I just remember being 20 like it was yesterday. But obviously at 29, I'm absolutely not the same person I was at 20. It's just a different perspective. But also that specific side that I'm still exploring, I also feel a little bit anxious. Like, did I do the right things? Did I take enough initiative in my youth? Did I take advantage of my, energy and passion, or did I waste time? What could I have done better? What could I have done better? That's certainly a question that's on my mind. But on the flip side of the coin, I cannot be more confident than I am today. I'm extremely empowered and grounded in my energy. I have a great idea, a great idea, and self-awareness and understanding of who I am and what my purpose are. And I feel like, I did zigzag a lot, and I did lose sight a lot, and I did a lot of mistakes, more than you can imagine, some more painful than others. But if it all happened so that I arrived to the destination I'm here today, where I built stability internally, not looking outside of my own self for the things I personally need, then it was a journey worth having. It is only now and with the person I am today that I can confidently say that I will make an amazing partner, and I will make an amazing wife, and I will make an amazing mother. It's only now that I feel that. And I'm so grateful that the relationships I've had in my life prior to who I am today didn't work out, because I was simply nothing but a big mess. And it's through self-development and self-work that I claim the confidence I have today. And it's also still work in progress. It's always will be. It's always important to understand that no matter how much better we get in life, there's always room for more improvement, because we'll never be masters in it all. Perfection is just a myth, and what we aim for is just doing the best we possibly can, while just just celebrating the milestones we achieve. And it really isn't easy sharing this with you. Trust me, it's very vulnerable for me to sit here and tell you I thought I would be a mother by now, and I'm not. And for days, some certain days in my life, I reflect on that with sadness, and I think that I failed as a woman. And days where I'm smarter, where I feel that I'm extremely grateful that it didn't happen yet, because I probably wasn't ready for it. And if I want to manifest these realities in my life moving forward, then I have to come from a place of empowerment and a place of wanting something, not needing something. There's a huge distinction and difference between how you ask the universe for what you want. Because if you're coming from a place of neediness, from a place of lack, from a place of pettiness, then you're going to receive more of what you do not want. Because the universe does not distinguish. Sorry, let me say that properly. The universe does not distinguish between what you're asking it to give you and what you're asking it not to give you. The universe simply gives you what your attention is on. So if you're asking the universe not to give you something, your attention is on that thing that you do not want, and as a result, you're going to receive it anyway, and you're going to receive more of it anyway. So for me, that was failed relationships. I did not want failed relationships. I did not want men to treat me a certain way. I did not want my relationship to be a certain way, and that's exactly what I was attracting. One relationship after the other that represented nothing but exactly what I was not wanting for, not asking for. And they all have very similar patterns. They're all very similar in the type of man I attracted and the type of relationship that took place. So this time in my life, because I have this self-awareness, I'm capable of recognizing this pattern, breaking it, and embracing the lessons it taught me. And that's very, very, very important. So I just wanted to share that because there's something beautiful and wise about the way things work. And the universe is really meant to bring things to you when you're ready to have them. Whether it's a relationship, whether it's a career, whether it's prosperity, health, whatever it is you actually want, the universe is out there for you to ask it for what you want. But you also have to be ready to receive it. You have to be in that receiving mode to receive what you're asking for. And flawlessly, things will happen as they're meant to happen. The interesting thing about our lives as human beings in general is that we think that we need to go through such trouble to get what we want in any area in life. We feel that hard work reaps results, and that's just ingrained in our conditioning. I don't know where it came from. Reality, though, is while this is true in a lot of instances, there is, and we do have the capability to attract things flawlessly as well. Things are meant to be smooth, and they can be smooth. So if I want a specific thing and I focus on that desire of mine and that passion of mine and that intention of mine and work on every level of my vibration to attract this in my life, then it can enter my life seamlessly without any troubles and without any ups and downs and struggles like we think we need to go through. In other words, we don't necessarily always have to jump through hoops to earn something that we want. We just have to feel worthy of it, and we have to prove that we're worthy of it by asking for it and ready to receive it. So it's our job. It's our job to A, be prepared to ask for what we want, and B, be ready to receive it. And if we have A and B, then I can't imagine what life would be like when you just feel like you're in control of everything that takes place of it. And while I can say these things effortlessly, I do realize that the practical side of how we actually go about doing it is extremely, extremely challenging. And I realize that because I'm on that path with you. I haven't mastered it myself. I'm not even close to mastering it. I am aware of it, and I continue to practice it every single day in my life. Because life is not about, being perfect, but it's about doing your best. And that's what I wanted to leave you with today. So I just wanted you to reflect on everything you're going through, whichever age you're at, whatever milestone you hit, whether it's a birthday or or something else that happens to you that reminds you to kind of reflect on the growth you're going through and who you're becoming as a result of that. And for me, I cannot be more grateful than the person I am today. So thank you for you listeners to join me on this episode where I shared turning 29 and what it really meant for me. I look forward to future episodes where we can learn, grow, and most importantly, get real together. Take care, everybody.